This is Gemara in Kiddushin, Daf Ayin Beis, and today's Shir has been generously dedicated by a close friend of the Daf as an incredible schos refuah shlema for Bat Bas Cyril Bracha B'siyata Dishmaya. The incredible schos HaTorah should bring Bat Cyril Bracha refuah shlema Gemura, young girl that could use all of our tefillos, all of our schosim. The incredible Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam should bring the ultimate Yeshuais. We should see a complete refuah shalema b'karev, as well as for protection for Ari Menachem Moshe ben Dina Toiva b'soich achenu kol beis Yisrael Hanetzunim ba'asara. He's out there on the front lines protecting all of us. Siyata d'shmaya, the schos HaTorah should be Megan on Ari Menachem Moshe ben Dina Ben Bina Toiva, And we pick it up on the bottom of Ayin Aleph Amid Beis. We are 3 lines from the bottom, and we are in the middle of figuring out the borders of Bavel. And the Gemara now says, Layit Abaye. Says the Gemara Abaye, and some say it was Vitem Rav Yosef Adarav. Some say it was Rav Yosef cursed whoever relied on the opinion of Rav, who we'll review in a moment, as we'll see. I asked the Gemara, "Ad Rav layit, ad Shmuel lo layit?" Shmuel was seeming even more encompassing than Rav. This has to do with the borders of Eretz Yisrael. If you look at the 2 lines at the bottom of Rashi, Rashi points out, "Ad Shmuel lo layit b'tmiyo v'arehu moisif." Shmuel is even more encompassing, more lenient than Rav. So you're cursing on Rav. If you're saying on Rav, what do you mean? Shmuel's even more mekel. Says the Gemara, you're right. Ela layit adirav v'kol shekein adishmuel. V'hiba yiseiman. There are those that explain the oilam adirav layit adishmuel lo layit. V'gisha de beiparas l'tatoi havoi, in the bridge of the beiparas of the Euphrates was downstream, and therefore Shmuel indeed was actually not more mekel than Ram. This is one of those things. You got to look at the map. ArtSchool has a beautiful map. Mesivta has a beautiful map. Everyone has a beautiful map. You just got to look at the map where everything lines up. Says the Gemara, and we turn over to today's Daf in Beis Amud Aleph. Innahu deloye parsai. And nowadays it moved, meaning in our map nowadays it is Shmuel. It is true that Shmuel would seem to be more mekel than Rav, but the Gemara is commenting that that is only a modern day invention, that the Persians changed the borders, but in reality, when Shmuel said this, he was indeed not being more mekel than Rav. And we continue. Says the Gemara, let's continue with the borders of Bavel, and now let's go westward. Amar le Abaye Rav Yosef l'hai gisa de pras ad hecha, to the side of the pras of the Euphrates, to the Ma'ariv, to the west. How far does Bavel extend? And again, we remind ourselves, we're in the middle of a discussion about the yichos, about who is considered to be genealogically fit when it comes to getting married. You want to marry a woman who is a kosher, etc. Whether these halachas have other applications, we'll see in a few moments. So Amar le Abaye Nachamo lahai gis de bras at heicha Amar le mai taituch. So Rav Yosef responds, what do you ask for? Mishum Biram. You're asking for the place called Biram, which is on the western side of the pras of the Euphrates. Miachsei de Bumpedisa mi Beiram Nasvi, as we've seen that the most miyuchas that take a wife from Biram, clearly Biram was a place that was completely kosher. Says the Gemara, as we just commented, Amar Rav Papa, says Rav Papa, which moves on to 5 lines down in Beis Amud Aleph, K'machloikes liyochsin, kach machloikes lininkin. Says Rav Papa, let's extend the machloikes. As Rashi says, the boundaries which we're using for yichos, the length and the width of Bavel, is the same machlekes with regard to Gin. That what? So Rashi reminds us of the Mishnah on Gin that we learned a few months ago in Daf Beis Amud Aleph, that if you bring a gem misharatzos, you have to say b'fanei nechtav, because they're not bevi'il nishma. But if you bring a gem from Eretz Yisrael, leBavel eino yisarich leimar. Well, Bavel is like Eretz Yisrael again. Why? because they were chachamim, they were bekiyim lishma, they knew the halachas. If you do not have to say b'fanei nechtav. So says Rav Papa, the same boundaries with regard to yochsin works for gittin as well. For Rav Yosef disagrees, Amar Machlekes the yochsav l'gittin. Everyone holds that the borders go to the second willow swamp past the Gishra, past the bridge. Continues the Gemara on the last narrow line. That's the name of a place, is Techilta de Bavel. That is the greatest yichos of all of Bavel. Shunya, Viguvya, we're going to have a lot of interesting names today. Techilta, Techavel Yama. Those are the greatest of Chavel Yam. So Chavel Yama is the greatest of Bavel. And Shunya, Guvya is the greatest of these places called Chavel Yama. Ravina Amar in the first wide line, Af Etzutzira. Etzutzira as well is concluded in these places of the height, the greatest ichos of Chavel Yama. Tanya Nami Hachi, we have a brisa that proves this point. Chanan ben Minchas Eimer Chavel Yama is Techilta de Bavel, like we just said, the greatest of Bavel. Shunya v'Govya v'Tzitzura is Techilta de Chavel Yama. They are the height, they have the greatest ichos of Chavel Yama, which is the greatest of all of Bavel. It continues the Gemara. Amar Papa ve'inna, but nowadays, Iravi beho kutai, the kusins mixed in. V'loihi, says the Gemara, it's not true. The kutins do not really mix in, and they're still very miyuchas, they're still kosher. But rather, who debai minayu, the kusins tried to infiltrate, they tried to marry in v'loyavale, and they did not allow them. Says the Gemara, my chaval yama amar ababa zu paras. Bursi, this is Pras, which is a place near Bursi. Who Gavra, says the Gemara, there was a story. Damar luhu anan min shot mishoit. A guy said, I'm from Shoit mishoit. Amar Rav Yitzchak navcha al raglov. He got up. Amar Shoit mishoit is Bein anaharis emedis, is between the rivers. Says the Gemara, Bein anaharis emedis. What do you mean? Mayave, who cares? Amar Rabbi, Amar Rav Chamber, Okam, Rav Yosef, Rav Chanina, Bein anaharis hareu ke goyle liyoso. And he means by Bein anaharis means is that it is a goyla, it is pure as the golos with regard to yochsin, like Pompedisa. Ve'echa kaima, says the Gemara, where is this place? Look at Rav Yechran, mihi dekira ule el, from Iu Dekiran upstream on the Euphrates. I asks the Gemara of Amar Rav Yechran said that all the kosher places are upstream of the Euphrates. Ad until where? Mavarta de Gizma. Only as far as Mavarta de Gizma. So how can he say the Iu Dekiri is included as those places that are kosher, which is further upstream? Amar Abaye explains the Bayrutzua Navka. Again, we got to look at a map. It says a Bayrutzua Navka is a piece of land of Bavel that sticks out, it connects, and thereby allows it to be kosher. Amar Rav Ika bar Avin, Amar Rav Chananel, Amar Rav Chilazain. It's the name of a place. Nad, another name of a place. Hareu ki goyla yochsin, our goyla are like the golos with regard to yochsin again. Same day and like Pompedis. Amalei Abaye lo tzitzitzi le Yavami. Says Abaye, no, don't listen to Ravika. Why Yavami did not hasam? Rather, there's a Yavama that fell to him from that area, and therefore he wanted to say that they're really kosher, but indeed they were not. Amar le atoti dihi. Ravika said to Abaye, what do you mean? I'm not the one that said this. Rav Chananel, it's Rav Chananel, so don't question that I'm only saying for myself. I'm just repeating from Rav Chananel. Also, Shailei Rav Chananel, they asked Rav Chananel, Amar le Hacham Rav Chalazai Nahavad Areu Kigali Yochsin, that it's sure that these two places are Kigali Yochsin, Upliga Rav Abba Bar Kahana. Rav Abba Bar Kahana argues, Amar Rav Abba Bar Kahana, what is the meaning of the passage that says, V'inachem bechalach ubechabar nahar kuzan v'arei madei. What is the meaning of this passage? And he explained, chalach, that is chilazin. Chavor zehadiyaf. Nahar goizan zeginezik. Arei madei zu chamdan. V'chavreisel. V'amri la zu naharad v'chavreisel. My chavreisel, Amar Shmuel, krach mushchi. You know, chavreisel is krach mushchi. Those are two places. Chuzki, a third place. Varumki, and a fourth place. And Amar Rav Yochanan, V'kulam lipsol kasal kadaita. And all of these places are listed at their apostle, and therefore Rav Abba is the one that says that these places of Chalaz and Avad are not kosher, So this is arguing with that which we started off from Rav, who Rav said that these places are indeed kosher. Continues the Gemara that Mushchi, which was one of the places just listed, is Hainu Mushchani. It's the same place as a Mushchani, but ask the Gemara if that is Shuva Marchiba Ravin Marshmal Mushchani or Ekigol Yosin. It's kosher. We just said a moment ago that Shmuel said that Mushchi is not kosher. Says the Gemara, there are two different places. Continues the Gemara, Utlas Alin Bepuma Bein Shinel. The pasuk says that there was an animal like a bear, Utlas an Ilon, and there are three ribs Bein Shinel between the mouth. Amar Rav Yechon Zuchi Lazain. Says Rav Yechon, this is the three places referred to as Chilaz and Adiyav and in Etzivin, Shepa'amin Balatan, Upamin Paltasan, that at times the Persians swallow them up and at times they are spit out. Va'aru Chaye Acharei Tinyana Adamya Ledayv. And there's another animal, another Chivaya that is similar to the bear. Tani Rav Yosef Elu Parsi, and this refers to the Persians. They eat and they drink kedayv like a bear, misarbelim kedayv, and they're large like a bear, megadlin seir kedayv, and they have a lot of hair like a bear, in lahen menuch kedayv, and they don't have any rest like a dayv. Ravami kavichazi parsa dechrov, and Ravami would see a Persian riding Amar Hainu dayvad nidaya. You would say this is like a dayv, a bear nidaya that is wandering. Continues the Gemara Amar Lei. Rebbe Lelevi Harani Persiim. Okay, and we're having ishtikal video issues. Let's turn that off. Amle Rebbe Lelevi Harani Persiim. Show me the Persians. Amar Le Levi responds. We're 10 lines to the bottom of Ayin Beis Amar Aleph. The first one in line is Amar. Toimim the Chayaloi shall Beis David. The Persians are similar to the Chayalois, the troops of David HaMelech's army. Harani Chavrin. He said, show me the Chavroinin. They're similar to destruction angels. They're like the shadim of the bathroom. So continues the Gemara that when Rabbi was being nifter, Amar Homenaya Ika beBavel, he said there's a town in Bavel called Homnaya. Kula Amunai, they're all Amunai and they're all Ammonites. Misgaya Ika beBavel, there's a town called Misgaya. Kula Dimam Zeirahis. This is Rabbi on his deathbed revealing the different statuses of different cities, and he continues Birka Ika beBavel. This place called Birka, which Shnei Achan Yesh, there are two brothers, Shemachavlin and Shesayim, that they swapped their wives with each other. Birta de Satya Ika beBavel. There's a place called Birta de Satya that what Hayom Saru Me'achari Hamakiv, today they have left from Achari Hamakiv in front of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They've went off the derech. Continues the Rabbi, the Akvi Pira Bekavri B'Shabbat, because one Shabbos there was kavri, there was fish from the pond that overflowed. V'azul B'Tzadu Bu B'Shabbata. They went and they caught the fish on Shabbos, obviously being over Malacha. V'Shamtinu and Rabbi put them into V'Shamtinu Rav Achi Rav Yishia. Rav Yishia put them in the Chayrim for that which they did. V'Shtamidu V'Ishtamud, and then they went off the derech. They became Apikarsim. Continues Rabbi Akra da Agma Ika beBavel. There's a town in Bavel called Akra da Agma. Ada bar Ava Yishba. There's a person Ardu bar Ava that lives there. As we turn over to Ayin Beis Amid Beis, Hayoim Yoshev V'Cheka Shel Avraham. Today he's sitting in the Cheka, in the lap of Avraham Avinu, which means, as Rashi says, some say it means he's Mesayim, some say that he is in Nichlas Lebris Mila, referred to Avraham Avinu. Beautiful Siyata Deshmaya, this week's Parsha, Parshas Lech Lecha. Continues the Gemara in Beis Amid Beis, the top line, Hayayim Noilad Rav Yehuda beBavel. And finally, Rabbi says, again, these are all forms of Nevuah. Rabbi saying what's going to happen. Today, Rav Yehuda was born in Bavel, and explains the Gemara, the Amar Mar. Kshemeis Rabbi Akiva Noilad Rabbi, Kshemeis Rabbi Noilad Rav Yehuda, Kshemeis Rav Yehuda Noilad Rava, Kshemeis Rava Noilad Rav Ashi, Lila Mercha. What does this teach us? Two lines on the wide line. She'ein Sadik Nifter Min Ha'ilam Ad, until Shenivra Sadik Kamaisa. HaKadosh Baruch Hu does not allow one tzaddik to be nifter from the world until there's another tzaddik kamaisai to take his place that is born. Shnamar, as the pasuk says, v'zarach hashemesh uba hashemesh. The sun rises and the sun sets, and from there we learn out achal kavsa shimshel shel Eli zarcha shimshel shel Shmuel. Similarly, before the son of Eli went out, the son of Shmuel Haramasi was lit. On the second wide line, Shenamar v'nei Elokim terem yichbe u'Shmuel sheiche v'gomer. Siva Hashem the Yaakov Sviva of Sarav. Hashem commanded to Yaakov, those who are around, who will be his enemies. This is referring to the way they acted towards the Yidden of Pum Nahara, that they were not nice towards them. So this is where we see that when one rises, one sets, one gadol is nifter, another gadol is born. Continues the Gemara Vayihi. We're on the third by line. V'hikir hanavayu paltihu ben Yahu meis. It was the nevuah that Paltihu ben Yahu was nifter. Ve'ebol al penei, and I fell on my face. Ve'ezak called gadol, and I cried out a great cry. V'aymer ehye adoishem elikim, and I said, woe is to Hashem, my God. And explains the Gemara Ravu Shmuel. How do we darshan up this pasuk? 5 lines into the white lines of Ayin Beis Beis Chadamer LeTaiva Chadamer LeRa. What exactly is going on in this pasuk is a machlaikas, whether Paltayu ben Yahu was said over LeTaiva, where Yechezkel was saying over something good about him, or something was saying something evil about him, wicked. Man Damer LeTaiva explains the Gemara Ki Ha like that. There is a Tandurodim Eshel Chasanit V'Nuchanetzarvya. The Gavra Meishan was whom? Was the son-in-law of Nebuchadnezzar. Shalach lei. They sent a message to Nebuchadnezzar. Mikulei Aishavia Disi Lacha. From all the captives that you brought to Bavel for yourself, Loi Shadarta Lan Dekai Lekaman. You did not send any before us to be our servants. Baila Shadule Mi Israel. So Nebuchadnezzar wanted to calm him down. So he wanted to send him some Yidden to serve as avodim for the people of Meshan. Amrle Paltayu ben Yahu said to Nebuchadnezzar, Anan de Chashvinon Neku Mikamach Hacham. Let the Yidden who are distinguished before you, let them stand and serve you here in Bavel. Va'avdin Nezalahasam. Let the slaves go there to Meshan. So he basically told Nebuchadnezzar that you should be served by the Yidden, you should be served by more Chasha people, and the Avadim should go and serve to the people in Bavel. So what happened over here was Paltayu saved all of the Yidden from being sent to Meshan by Nebuchadnezzar. Va'amar Navi concludes the Gemara, Misha'asa Taiva Israel. So nu does a taiva v'Yisrael yamuz a chatzi yamav. Why was Paltayu? If he was one that saved all the Yidden from not being sent over as avadim, why was he nifter so young? So that's one pshat. And man da'amar l'ra. There's another pshat that Paltayu was really acting evilly. Tersev, as the pasuk says, v'tavei oisi el shar beis Hashem akadmoni apoyne kedema. The pasuk says, he brought me to the east gate of the house of Hashem, Apoyne Kedima, facing eastward, V'hine and behold, Bepesach HaShar, the gate, Eser v'chamisha ish, there were 25 men, Ve'ere, B'seichan, I saw amongst them, Es Yoznahu, Ben Azor, Vesaltahu, Ben Binoyahu. So we see that this Paltahu, the person that we're looking for, that we've been discussing, is amongst these 25 men. Sorry, and these were the princes. Uksev, and the pasuk says, "V'yavo isi al chatzer beis Hashem." They brought me to the chatzer, apanimis dinner chatzer v'nei pesach beis Eichel Hashem bein ha'ulam ubein hamizbeach k'esev v'chamisha ish acharayim el Heichal Hashem. And behold, at the door, at the entrance between the ulam and the mizbeach, there were 25 people. Acharayim el Heichal Hashem b'neim kedma. Their backs were to the Heichal, and their face was away from the Eichal, and they bowed. The pasuk concludes that they bowed. They bowed away from the Beis Hamikdash, worshiping the sun. The Gemara now explains, Mimash Vashanemar from the fact the says of B'nai Kedma, Any idea Shachreim Klape Ma'ariv? Why does the pasuk repeat that their faces were eastward and their backs were towards the west, towards the Beis Hamikdash? Matam Alaymar. Why does the pasuk say Achreim Aleichel Hashem Elamed? You know, this teaches us Sheyam Afri and Atzman and Matrizin Atzman. Kelape Milo. Then unfortunately, that they took off their clothing and they took off their pants particularly, and they were matrizin. They used the bathroom towards Kelape Milo, towards the Beis Hamikdash. The Kamara Navi and the Navi Yecheskel says about Paltayo Misha Asa Ara Zais Yisrael. He who led this charge, he who did this terrible act in Klal Yisrael. Yamos al bitasai should die peacefully? Of course not. He should have died a terrible death. So two different ways of learning the story. Either we're asking why did he die young, as he saved Klal Yisrael from being sent as avodim to Nebuchadnezzar, or we're asking why did he die peacefully? He was a terrible Rasha that led the charge of Oivdei Avodah Zarah Keneged Hakadosh Baruch Hu. So says the Gemara, Testayim de Shmuel Tamar L'Ra. So we have a machlekes whether Paltayu was L'Ra, whether Paltayu was the Taiva. So says the Gemara, let's bring a raya that the Paltayu was L'Ra. To Amar, what's the raya? Rechibar Rabban Amar Shmuel Mushchani. Harehi Kigol Yuchsin Mushchani, and this of course all comes back to our sugya, was like Golos Yuchsin was pure, Meishan Loy Chashula. And Meishan, the Chacham were not concerned about the people there. Loy Misham Avdos, Loy Misham Mamzerus. They weren't worried, they were neither Mamzerim nor Avadim, but rather Elokehanim Shayu Sham, Shayu Ba. Rather, the issue that they had over there, the Kahanim that lived there were not makbid, were not careful to marry Gerushais, and therefore, if Paltayu sent the Avodim to Meishan, which is the first pshat, then we should say that they are Avodim. Shmuel just taught us he was not worried that the people of Meishan were Avodim. He must hold that the people of Paltayu were indeed not good people, and therefore they were not sent as avodim. Says the Gemara, no, Shmuel Amar L'Toiva. Shmuel holds that when one is mafkir is avid, he goes free, and therefore get shechor shenemar. Kol eved ish miknas kasef eved ish v'loy eved isha el eved sheish l'rishos l'rabbi alav kari eved shein l'rabbi sheish alav ein kari eved, and therefore Shmuel holds that when one is a mafkir is eved, what happens is he goes l'cheiros automatically. So Shmuel could hold that Paltayu indeed had avodim sent to Meishan, but Lamaisa, because they were mafkir, therefore they were not considered avodim, and that's the reason why Shmuel Yichos was not worried about the people of Meishan. Says the Gemara, going all the way back to the Mishnah on Daf Samach and Beis, back to Ezra. Omar Rav Yehuda, Omar Shmuel. We're about 20 lines from the bottom of Ayin Beis and Beis. The first word in line is Amar Rav Yehuda. Teaches Rav Yehuda in the name of Shmuel, Zu Devi Rameir. That which we said, the Mishnah is Rameir. Aval Chachamim Aimrim. Kol Haratzais V'Chaskes Sheras Heim Aim Dais. The Chachamim hold that all lands are B'Chaskes Kashrus, and you're allowed to marry a woman without investigating at all, innocent until proven guilty. Proves the Gemara. The Rav Yehuna he allowed him to marry a wife from a place called Mechuza, even though it was outside of Bavel. The reason is that was all Rameir, and that's the reason why he was allowed to marry someone from Mechuza. But I asked the Gemara 1 second, but the Yeshiva Rav Kahana didn't teach this, didn't learn like this, but rather Beir Rav Papa lo Mastiachi, or Beir Rav Zvid lo Mastiachi. Afilu Achi lo Kiblu Minei Mishav Neshamalei May Rav Zvid and Hardai, because they did not hear this from the name of B'Shem Shmuel, and the yeshiva of Rav Zib ben Hardai did not teach us b'shem Shmuel, and therefore rather Shmuel indeed holds that other areas are considered kosher, and one can marry there without any issue. Tana Rabbana, we conclude Mamzer Nesimi Tahirim Lasa Lava Divir Rav Yosi, that Mamzerim and Nesinim will be Tahirim La'asid Lava Bismana Mashiach Divir Rav Yosi Rameir Amer Ein Tahirim, they will not be. Amar Rav Yosef Lekvar Nemar V'Darakti Aleichem Mayim Tahirim Mutartem, that La'asid Lava Hashem is going to purify everyone. Amar Rameir Kshoimer Mikol Katasechem Mikol Golechem Loy Min Amam Zeiris. The pasuk says Hashem will purify us from our toma, from our Golechem, but it will not purify us from our mamzeris. Amar Rav Yosef Kshoimer Atareschem Havi Oimer Af Min Amam Zeiris. Rav Yosef says no, that comes to include even mamzeris. We'll stop. Actually, let's just go a job further. Says the Gemara. Bish Lamer Rameir. They'll say we have a pasuk Vayashem Mamzer Ba'ashtod. According to Rav Yosi, who says that all the mamzerim are going to be mitarin, all the mamzerim will become pure. According to Rav Yosi, what does the pasuk mean? That there will be a mamzer in Ashdod. All of them should have been pure, and we conclude Kiddushin Targum Rav Yosef Yosvun Beis Yisrael Roichatzin Bar Ehoin. As Rav Yosef, it translates that the house of Klal Yisrael will dwell in their land. They will be considered like strangers, and indeed they will not be tar. And the Gemara concludes on Rav Yudam Rashma Alacha Kirav Yosi, which is a big favorite. Lamaisa Havi Asel Yo Alacha Rav Yosi Am Rav Yosef Ilav Te Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel Rav Yosi Asel Yo Mapik meaning Savrani Kulyer. And if not, the fact that he said Allah is like Rav Yosi Eliyahu, and Navi would have come and he would have taken out so many people in neck shackles. But Baruch Hashem, or possibly Rav Yosi, that lost a lavai, all mamzerim will become tar, and we'll have no worries. And we'll pick it up from the next Gemara of Ger and the next year of Siyata Dishmaya.